you know, whatever. I'm not emotionally attached to any of it.
I'm not either. It's such a big animal to get, make changes on.
For sure.
I truly don't understand some of the smaller towns that are like, they hate
Right. It's, I think it's one of those, one of those things when we start talking about ibuprofen.
No,
Once you start talking about, differentiating between the new way and the way that things have always been, people will get, they'll get an upset stomach about change. And I don't know if they feel like they're losing their identity. I don't know.
I don't,
One off of our website tomorrow.
because I got to thinking back, okay,
Let me take the one that we're gonna put on our website tomorrow.
Well,
you
the
know,
fire department's not innocent.
what's that?
The fire department is not innocent in the way that it used to operate. Is there was they had a lackadaisical command staff that didn't enforce behavior standards, and when we went out to help people, they thought it was an inconvenience, and all volunteers are stupid, they didn't know anything because they're not super cool career fire people like we are.
I'm like, well, this is that could go back to like, I'm like, yeah.
That's never my intention. I didn't provide much narrative, because we talked about it at staff meeting before now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Hello.
I just didn't know.
Yeah, I have totally forgotten. Thank you.
I can be here.
Saving my baby.
I'm just going to
I don't know, boss. Figure it out and burn the bridge down when we come to it, I suppose.
We can coordinate anything,
Yeah.
we're professionals at that.
No, completely different story.
I think we need to go.
State radio, yes. State radio. Here, we water buttons.
How are you?
I think we are.
Oh,
You want to know?
Yes.
How are you?
I haven't seen you in ages.
I know, it's good to see you.
You too.
you sounded kind of.
How have you been?
Get home and then what they think I'm selling flowers. It's really hard.
Oh my gosh.
You're out there in the morning and it's
You know why that is?
and you have gloves and things. It's kind of cool. I'm sure we'll have a good yeah, I would like it a lot. It's
There's an airspace between the outside wall and the inside.
Sorry, you say your name?
Oh, it's sense.
With liquid. I just did that one.
There's no way. It was good.
yeah.
My wife loves it.
Nobody comes in yelling these.
I reckon.
So it's a good gig, but then reading books, watering my own flowers.
And serving the community.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, it's gotta be interesting to get back into the
Jackets, rolled up maps, name tags.
I can only imagine
Yeah.
kind of posturing.
Yeah.
What's up?
And so here we go.
Good people up here with you too, so. How's it going?
Hey, how's it
Good
going?
to see you, yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, good, how are you?
Good, good.
No, I'm good. No, we're all good.
Good to see you. How are you?
Marco, good to see you.
I
You know, a lot of flying.
Yeah, we've been growing a lot, and I've got a few pilots getting trained so that I can go back to my normal where I actually have time. So I've been doing a lot of actual flying, which is unusual for me. So, very unusual.
You know why?
Well, what's the role? Did they just get introduced to the document? Good.
It's the same as swimming, isn't it? I like your idea.
Yeah. There's a time, you know, and well, let's be honest, I've never seen the comprehensive plan guide development. We've always changed the comprehensive plan to match the development. I've never seen it, so it's fun to look at and map out. Well, developers are. They're going to show a concept of what makes money for them. Knowing us, we're just,
Taking my kids over for
oh,
Donna.
that's
Flying from Tokyo to Dallas,
He's giving us the whole thing for nothing.
Denver to Dallas or something.
I like a bunch.
where does he live?
Maryland.
Maryland? Okay, yeah, I know. Well,
They've got, he works for the DOT Health Services Group, and they're updating software, medical software. And right now, the data center for those hospitals in Seoul and Taiwan is in Kansas City.
you're kidding.
So if they lose connection to the internet,
They're,
they go have to go to paper. So they're basically putting the system in place in the hospitals, go ahead and run, and then it'll catch up and sync with it if it goes down.
that's just incredible.
It's how to handle stuff.
These data centers, I was over in Cedar Rapids the other day, and they're restarting the nuclear power plant because they need it for the data centers. So they have, oh, the amount of water those take is it's unbelievable.
Where are they all in Mississippi or the Missouri?
Flyer.
It is, it's incredible. I don't know, I think Deirdre won't be here.
I know Patrick's not gonna
I might just do this spot so I can see the TV. How are you?
move over, cause I know he said he wasn't coming.
Okay. Yeah, it's, those data centers are unbelievable. I can't, I don't know, zoning, you know, at least in Cedar Rapids, they're putting them all over by the airport, and they're nowhere near residential. You don't have that, but Bondurant, they're right there.
Well, if they wanted to put one in Marshalltown, I'd have, you know, I'd say no. You know, our water system is not
Where they
coming
want
off
that.
an aquifer, it isn't there.
A lot of these towns are just giving them all the tip in the world to, I love it as a tool, but when you watch it on some of these data centers, it's gonna employ 3 people.
The only way they could do one here is they have to pull water from the outer river.
There you go. There you go. How's it going? How's it going? Good.
Yeah, my son, I had to get copies of his sister and my son, and he lives in Columbia. Do we know is Brodeen online?
Turn one. Matt Bodine, can you hear us in the chambers?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, thank you. Greg Nichols, are you on?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
I call this meeting to order of a joint meeting between the Marshalltown City Council and Planning and Zoning. We are in the City Hall Council Chambers at 10 West State Street. It is May 26, 2026, and it is 4:31 p.m. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have roll call, please?
Cahill?
Here.
Fonseca?
Here.
Mitchell?
Here.
Nichols?
Here.
Schneider?
Here.
Thompson?
Here.
Yepes Gomez?
Here.
For Planning and Zoning, we have Boston?
Here.
Bodine? Bodine? Cassidy?
Here.
Grunler? Harris Medina? Straight?
Here.
Ballbrack?
Okay. Our only item on the agenda is discussion of the Reimagined Marshalltown Comprehensive Plan and Housing Study. And with that, I'll turn it over to Clayton.
Good evening. I'm going to let our consulting team take the brunt of this for me tonight, but we do have Charlie, Megan, and Ben on our consulting team. Charlie and Megan are with RDG, Ben's with EOC, kind of providing some environmental services along with it. But we have a good presentation for you tonight, and I believe they'll tell you, but feel free to interrupt us along the way. We hope this is constructive, and if there are things that need to be changed, please let us know. These are draft form, and that means they can be changed.
Thank you.
And Charlie, there's
Right.
going to be a scroll, not a click.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. Perfect. Thank you, Clayton. My name's Charlie Cowell with RDG Plan and Design. Good to see some familiar faces again and some new ones as well since we kicked off this project last year. Hopefully you've been following along reimaginemarshalltown.com and at some of our events as well. We are now officially at the latter ending phase of the study and project. So tonight we wanted to get you together with the Planning and Zoning Commission to overview some of the highlights of the plan that you'll see or you already have seen in the draft. What are our next steps and your role in this plan as we move forward. Oops, scroll. Yep. There we go. Maybe. There we go. Scroll. So our schedule moving forward, as you can see here, we kicked off this project back in August and officially with the community in September and October timeframe last year. We've been working on a variety of things throughout, getting input along the way. This week, we are obviously meeting with you. Tomorrow, we'll be hosting some public open houses to display some of the information as well. And then shortly after, post a draft plan on the project website for public review and feedback. As Clayton mentioned, everything is very much still draft at this point. So we are opening to any questions, comments, and ideas that we need to amend before the final plan comes before you. And we're shooting for about a month of public review time, and then we would look to schedule meetings starting in July for Planning and Zoning Commission review, then leading into City Council. So to be determined on the exact dates of those, but that is the agenda at this point. So as I mentioned, we'll reiterate this at the end. The draft plan will be posted, and we'll be taking feedback throughout the month of June.
So what is this plan? If you're not familiar or you haven't looked at the previous comp plan, it is the overarching document for guiding land use decisions in particular, but other decisions related to housing, transportation, policy decisions, programming, and potentially projects as well. So it informs other more detailed efforts like the strategic plan, the CIP, other master plans that are conducted within the city. So it is really the vision of where you want to be in the future. The current plan was done in 2010, so this is a pretty fresh update of that. Of course, there's been a lot of other planning efforts done along the way, which we've incorporated some of that into this plan as well. But as we're going through and you're reviewing the plan over the next few weeks, we'd just ask you to think about, are there any priorities that you think are missing? Any things that we should be doing right away that are things tomorrow? This should be a priority, or quick wins versus other things that are maybe more longer term, require more discussion to move forward. So as you can imagine, it is comprehensive. It covers everything: land use, mobility, housing, parks, economic development, facilities, and implementation. So today we know we have constrained time because you have another meeting after this, so we'll try to keep it high level and free to answer any questions as we move along, but we're going to go chapter by chapter and highlight some of the themes. So John gets to hear this twice because he was on our committee just a minute ago. So what does this mean for you? This, as I mentioned, is your guide to evaluate and develop projects, policies, ordinances, and programs. So again, it's the big picture vision. This does also have roles for individual property owners, developers, visitors. It's a guide for what others can expect to see in the future if the plan is brought to fruition. It could identify market realities, growth patterns, and for a visitor, it should showcase what Marshalltown is as well. So if any community you go into and you've never been, if you open up their comprehensive plan, you should get a pretty good sense of what that community is all about. So that's what this document should reflect as well. We were guided along the way with our project management team, which was staff we were meeting with every other week throughout the project. Our advisory committee, which was made up of people from throughout the community that we met with about every other month to get feedback on items as we were moving along. There is, as Clayton mentioned, a housing study that was done more specifically associated with this project. So there are high-level items from that study in the plan, but there is an actual full separate study that will be posted as well, which we're meeting with the housing committee tomorrow to finalize. And then throughout, we did multiple days of listening sessions, on-site engagements, going to workplaces, schools, the online components they're on the website, various open houses, meeting with groups, a variety of different input methods that we combined with kind of our analysis, what we were hearing from the committee to kind of form the draft document that you see in front of you today. So let's jump in. Chapter 1, land use and design. One thing as we're going through and as we talk about these things, a lot of parts of the plan are all intertwined together. So a recommendation or items in one part of the plan are most likely impact another part of the plan. And so this is all, each section, it really can't be looked at by itself. It really does have to be looked at a whole document, but for organizational purposes, we have kept it in these categories. So land use and design, the future land use map, which is probably, I don't want to call out parts of the plan that are more important than others, but the future land use plan is an important one because it directly informs zoning decisions and development decisions. So the Planning and Zoning Commission is very familiar with the future land use map and how this works. So it identifies a handful of categories. There's not as many categories as the zoning districts, which is on purpose. It allows a lot more flexibility in these areas. So one area may allow a lot of different things under certain zoning. But it's generally to say this is like the big picture of maybe where different types of neighborhoods should go, business should go, commercial should go, and how those areas should be accessed. So there's a few important points about the future land use map when you review it. One, it is general. While it does inform the zoning, it is not a zoning map. So the lines can be kind of shifted a little bit here and there based on developments as they come forward. They're kind of fuzzy in that sense, whereas zoning is prescriptive. Your property is zoned residential, single-family residential, that it has to follow those items, whereas this is a little more fluid to, as development comes along or proposals come along, you can work within the big picture vision to meet the map. It is still property owner driven, so this is not implying that an area is designated commercial that's maybe not developed today. It's not forcing or saying like tomorrow when this plan's approved that that property has to be developed as commercial. There is a process for a property owner when they want to do a development. If it's going to be something other than what's on the future land use map, there is processes to update the map. So it is property owner driven in that sense. And it's the overarching basis for decision making. So we think big picture, here's our vision. Does a project or a policy meet that vision? Okay, next step, let's look at the zoning, what the zoning allows, or let's look at the other master plan on what that says. So it's kind of just the first check mark of looking at projects and policies. And I'll just highlight a few districts here because these are sometimes a little bit different. They are different than zoning, how zoning would work for these areas. So I just want to call out how the land use plan approaches growth in Marshalltown. And that's through intensity areas. So they're specifically called intensity areas for the three main districts, low, medium, high, because we don't want to say these are just necessarily residential. There is possibilities, and depending on the context, obviously, for allowing other types of uses. So for example, the low intensity area is going to be mostly single family residential. So you see a new development go up today, that's going to be probably on the outskirts of town, low intensity. There could be attached housing in there too. That's not necessarily something that would be excluded. And there could be non-residential uses. Think like a law office that's located in a house. It looks like a house, it acts like a house, but there just happens to be a law office there. Not a lot of traffic or other activity. So those types of things could be allowed. Daycares as well and that sort of thing. When we step up a little bit into medium, those areas are identified on the map. A lot of around downtown is this area and some other areas as well. Single family, detached housing attached. There may be more duplexes, townhomes, maybe some small multifamily, depending on if they're located on a busy intersection or something could be allowed. Non-residential is still allowed, would be allowed too, maybe a little bit more. Maybe there's a corner bakery that could be allowed, or a small shop or hardware store or something like that on a small scale, not like a big retail store or anything like that. And then our last kind of intensity district is high intensity. This is what you would typically, most people would associate with apartment complex, but it could be much more and should be much more than that. Could be mixed use, could be mixed with some more commercial uses. Maybe there's stuff associated with those residents that would be on site. So like assisted living, for example, would fall in this category and things like that. So those are the three primary neighborhood areas identified on the map, and then our other ones are pretty standard. Commercial is commercial, would allow mixed use. Industrial is industrial, would cater to that, and then parks and open space are obviously parks and open space. So that is, when you're reviewing the future land use map, that is big picture. We did call out, like, because your zoning code has been pretty recently updated, we did call out what would the existing compatible zoning be with each of these. So you notice there's multiple zonings that would fall in each one of these. Depending on the type of project, you'd obviously have to do your diligence reviewing that against the zoning code and other goals of the city. But ideally, each of these areas could potentially allow different types of zoning. The next big part of the plan is mobility, which is very closely, if not directly associated with land use. So On the future land use map, you've probably noticed a bunch of dotted street lines as well. These are proposed, would be proposed street extensions, connections. They are not implying projects, which I'll actually get to here. The reason we show future street connections on the map is to indicate there's a desire for streamlined neighborhood development to have a connection point from A to B. How that street is actually designed and filled in could be a number of different ways, but from traffic flow perspective, from getting, not creating secluded neighborhoods to creating connected systems, we want to see this eventually connect. So if a proposal comes through and it happens to be in an area where there is a future street connection, we would say, great, let's take a look and see if there's a way that as this development grows, there's a way to connect point A to point B. However, the developer or builder, whoever designs that, could be a number of different ways, but the idea is we want to reserve those areas to make that through connection. So it allows a lot of flexibility, but there's some areas that if we didn't make that connection, it would really be a detriment to neighborhood growth. You couldn't make a trail connection, perhaps. You couldn't make a good emergency access street connection for shorter distances to get to emergencies. A number of different things. So there are a handful of those identified on the map. The plan does call those out in detail. This is a text-heavy slide, I know, but it calls out some of those big connection points in the plan. Again, these aren't engineering projects that the city needs to put in their CIP necessarily, but they are, as development comes forward, things that we need to be planning for. There you go, next slide. Another larger part of the mobility plan is our gateways. So when we think about streets, there's also opportunities to create a visual appeal of coming into Marshalltown or certain areas. So as either projects occur, reconstruction projects, or it could be separate projects, there's opportunities to create entry gateways. We heard this a lot from community members too, particularly coming from the north or into downtown. Where are there spots where we know that we're arriving in Marshalltown? It's things feel different, things look different. I feel good about it. People complimented a lot some of the improvements at the car dealership at the north and how that development looks nice, and how do we kind of create not just the street environment but also the surrounding property environment that is pleasing. So these are some identified gateways and district markers and some ideas for how to do that in the future. Again, not necessarily calling out you need to put this in your CIP immediately, but as discussions go and projects occur, these are opportunities to really leverage that entryway feel into Marshalltown. And then throughout the plan, we've illustrated different applications of these principles. These are not meant, again, to be projects that are on the books immediately, but they're just ways to say if we were to follow the plan and its vision for mobility as it is laid out, this is how it could look in the future. So if we think about Iowa Avenue, for example, as the lots fill in that area with different commercial uses and different uses change over, we would maybe want to see side paths on one side of that street so that people can travel, whether by bike or pedestrians, and then eventually connect to Grimes Farm, which goes all the way out to the west even, and a loop system there to connect the trail system, which we'll talk about in a later slide here. Streetscape improvements, crossing improvements, all of these things are kind of the big policy items for mobility that we heard and want to see in Marshalltown. So again, not implying that this is we need to, this is not saying CIP line item to improve and reconstruct Iowa Avenue, but is an example over time incrementally as how we would want to see these types of things get implemented as projects come forward. So moving on, next, let's do a time check here. Okay, we're still good. Housing and neighborhoods. So this section is actually unique because Marshalltown, you did invest in doing a housing study at the same time, which is great. So everything in here is current as of this year for housing need. So the housing study goes into a ton of detail on housing demand for the future by price point, type of units, and a number of other things that apply to how to make housing more affordable for people in Marshalltown. For the comp plan purposes, it pulls out kind of the big ticket items from that study for the comp plan and puts in this chapter. The housing study will be included at the end so people can reference that if they want to go into more detail. But for comp plan purposes, we're looking at a demand for about 580 units through 2035 is the model and the forecast that's used for planning purposes. And that would be split across renter, owner units, different price points, different amenities, and the study goes into a lot of detail on how those items should be, how those units should be applied to meet people's needs. The study and then the comp plan then identifies, okay, we have 580 units. How do we add that many units and where? And it identifies basically 3 target areas to focus efforts on initially. One are those new development areas in the yellow, which we are referenced on the future land use map. Those are basically areas that aren't developed today that could be in the future with either street extensions or just continued development. For example, Merle Hibbs Road is a logical one that just keeps going east and west. That would be an area where we would add some new units. Other units in the blue might be infill or rehab of existing units that maybe are vacant or vacant lots or other areas for improvement. These would be an area where we may start to fill some of those different price point needs and different unit type needs. And the study goes into detail on ways to do that, particularly related to gap financing and making projects make sense for a builder, a developer. And then the red is the last area. These are redevelopment areas that are a use today that maybe should be something else in the future, and that is options for housing. So some of that is areas like near downtown, like the old hospital campus, could potentially, which will show some ideas, could potentially add some housing there. Others are just areas, excess parking areas and things like that too, that could be opportunities for housing. And so just kind of another way to illustrate the future land use map, how that looks related to housing and mobility growth. This is the Merle Hibbs area on the east side. When we talk about the low, medium, and high intensity, you may see more low intensity near environmental features. So we're clustering and protecting some wetlands and things like that. Maybe on major roads, there's more of that medium intensity housing, a little more dense perhaps. Maybe near park space, maybe some mixed use commercial in there as well. So just an idea of how that might fill out and fill different types of housing all in one area. Which kind of leads into, when I talk about parks, the Parks, Trails, and Environment chapter. So this chapter is really folded heavily into all the other chapters in a lot of ways, mainly because a lot of times trails follow roads and development follows where we don't want to develop. So floodplains, open space, wetlands, those are areas that we don't or can't develop on, but they may make better uses as open space or parks even. So this chapter pulls out those items and focuses on what these areas are and what they could be in the future. So there's really three ways that this chapter looks at parks, trails, environment in the future. It's what are our overarching policies for approaching these goals? What are some programs? So think activities, programming our spaces, and then what are projects? So obviously investments and things to do. Policies are pretty straightforward. They're things you're already doing today in a lot of ways, but we should continue in the future. making sure we're making strategic investments in planning financially for that, integrating obviously resilience and management of the environmental resources, and closing gaps, particularly along the trail aspect, to making sure our trail system is a connected system. You don't want to leave people at dead ends where they follow a trail and all of a sudden it ends. So connecting those gaps in the system. Programming focuses a lot on existing programs and making sure programs are accessible. We heard a lot about a lot of great programs through this process and how do we expand those and keep those, and the variety of those as well, whether that's library programming that is kind of flows out into the community, arts and culture programming, programming with the schools or the college, a lot of different things that the plan identifies as possible intangible visions for moving forward. Thinking about projects, the parks portion is identified kind of 4 areas. There, you actually have a pretty, you are pretty well served by parks overall when we look at across Marshalltown. We didn't hear a lot from the community about necessarily new park spaces. A lot of what we heard was existing parks, a lot of comments about existing park spaces or access getting to certain park spaces. But when we think about parks in the future, there's obviously if we see development occur in new neighborhoods like Merle Hibbs, there is like number 2 and 3 on this map, opportunities in those areas to close potentially some park gaps as more residents live down in those areas. These don't need to be huge parks. They could be a combination of stormwater management and park space as well. Think small open space for someone to go out on an open lawn and set up a soccer field or throw the football around or whatever. These don't need to be necessarily big program spaces. So those would be opportunities as those neighborhood grows to incorporate park opportunities. On the north side, you're pretty well served. There is potentially an opportunity for a gateway and water access for canoeing and kayaking and fishing even. There up on number 1. But otherwise, most other things we heard were, how do we get to Sand Lake? It'd be nice if we could get to Sand Lake or Grimes Farm or get from the 13th Street District to the River's Edge Trail, for example. So a lot of this section goes into more detail on some trail connections. And these are possibilities, not necessarily engineered plans by any means, but detailed enough to where we looked and walked and rode out and looked at what's possible. Is it possible we could create a wider sidewalk in this area? Or is it possible that we can make a connection here? And then the plan would then, you need to investigate further what the possibilities are. So one thing we heard quite a bit about was getting from the River's Edge trailhead or trail to Riverview Park some way. There is a route you can kind of go through downtown on street and up and over, but it's not, there's some heavier trafficked areas you'd have to go through on the street if you're on a bike, and then obviously sidewalk gaps would have to be filled too. So this number 1 looks at a possibility that takes, you could widen some sidewalks in an area or use on-street because there's pretty low traffic in these areas. That would be comfortable for families to ride a bike on or walk on the sidewalk environment would be fine too. That would be a possibility. Number 2 is Iowa Avenue. This one is pretty straightforward, but it does close a gap where we have a north-south side path trail that is from Highland Acres Road to Grimes Farm area. This would close a gap on that southern end that would allow people to get to Grimes Farm from Highway 14 via Iowa Avenue. This would obviously be a project that would have to be done over probably several years in the future as development occurs, but ideally it'd be a 10-foot side path, 12-foot side path that would span that stretch, which was reflected in that previous image on previous slides. So just an idea is possible, and it would close a gap. And then 3 is that illustrating a way to get to Sand Lake, is that if that area develops out for more recreational opportunities, just pretty much just shooting off the Lynn Creek Trail and working with the county on completing access road there. There is some room on the street to get out there, but people are just be much more comfortable if it was an off-street trail to get up there. And then I mentioned that Highland Acres Road. There is a small gap there that would close a north-south side path to get to Grimes Farm in that area. So there are a lot of other little gaps drawn on the map to show trail connections, but we featured kind of these four that really stood out and people talked about the most. So the plan details all the little gaps to fill along the way too. Second to last section, economic development in subareas. This section ties directly in the land use in a lot of ways. It does call out some more specific subareas that we were tasked with looking at the beginning of this project. Those are mostly along Highway 14 and downtown and Iowa Avenue, which we already looked at. But we were tasked with looking a little more closely at some ideas for possible sub-area concepts for the future. And so the plan does go into more detail on some ideas. One, we recognize there's been a lot of work done in the downtown over the years, so we did not necessarily recreate the wheel as far as downtown vision and policy. We did review it and made updates based on just what's changed and what's here today, what we know today to be. And we reflect that in the plan, but we certainly reference and recognize those other planning studies, and they're kind of illustrated throughout this chapter. So starting north to south, some of our sub areas, we talked about that North Gateway. This page or this section kind of applies some of the concepts of the entire plan to what that might look like, referencing some previous planning work on the Highway 14 corridor study, and what these gateways might look like, housing in this area, reinvestment in some of the businesses along this area as well, and that entryway from Riverview Park is reflected in this chapter too, focusing mostly on not just the street improvement itself, but some of the adjacent property improvements too through the land use plan. I mentioned the downtown plan is fully incorporated. What this plan does is there's a map in the most recent downtown plan that kind of identifies subject properties and projects. We basically recreated that and crossed off the items that are no longer applicable, and I guess what's left, and show what's left to do. So we call those out in the plan, referencing the other efforts, and kind of here's the checklist of the remaining items from those efforts. Provide some visuals for what that might look like, again, as stuff starts to incrementally happen. The topic that was maybe the biggest of our sub areas was the old hospital campus, and we from day one started talking about this site with the community and our committees. We know there's been 2 or 3 other iterations of what this hospital campus might look like in the future, and so we basically provided another option that looks at it. Again, this is not necessarily implying that the city build this. It is that it's a partnership with the development community, or however this gets structured. But the idea of showing this in the plan, showing an idea in the plan, is we'd like to see these types of principles applied to this site. And so the hospital campus in this plan, based on what we heard and talking with people, the south part, south of Main Street, the primary building would be demolished and the site would be redeveloped with kind of a higher density use that fronts the major arterial here in these kind of red color buildings. That could be mixed use, they could be housing. Ideally, there's some commercial space that could be used by residents in the area. Parking interior, on the backside, it gets a little less dense. These white buildings would be existing buildings that remain. Maybe there's another apartment complex that kind of reflects the senior living to the south here, maybe some townhomes as another housing type to fill some of those housing needs as we get more dense going into, or less dense, excuse me, going into the neighborhoods to the west. North of Main Street, this concept does maintain a building here that is an office building, I believe, or more of a medical building, not the actual hospital itself. That could be repurposed into either something like senior living or residential or something. The general idea though, is that building potentially could be saved on the site and used for something else. And then potentially adding in a small building footprint on the corner of Main, on the main arterial, that maybe it could be a box of anything. We heard a lot about maybe small, an event space venue to rent out or hold a variety of different types of meetings and events. It could be a number of things, but there is space for about something on the corner there. So just an idea, again, we showed the other previous concepts in the plan too, so you can kind of see all three different variations or scenarios of this and how they have some similarities and differences, but it just gets, when the time comes, it paints a picture of the big picture vision. Again, the exact footprints will likely vary, but the idea is, the puzzle pieces of big picture might look like this. And we did provide a visual of that just to give scale, a reference of scale when we think about these buildings. They might be three-story for some of the larger ones, but the townhomes obviously start to step down when you get into the neighborhoods. So kind of providing that buffer from the neighborhoods as well, and just how parking can be incorporated and those sorts of things. So just to give ideas, big picture vision, not implying this is a construction document or anything like that. But some of our other sub areas, so I look at time here, I think we're good still. We were tasked with looking at a few other areas. When we go south out of downtown, this area, or this, I should say, intersection or a viaduct area has been looked at a couple times in previous plans. So we again provide another scenario for looking at it, where Madison Avenue it's kind of a weird little mobility route there. It's kind of confusing. So this realigns some roadways, which then opens up sites for possible uses. Could be new residential, maybe commercial on the ground floor, but just ideas for making that more efficient from a mobility standpoint, and how these sites maybe could be connected together with the parking or road access going underneath the viaduct, so that this could be maybe more appealing if it could be consolidated and developed as one, rather than right now it's kind of split up into a lot of different little pieces. So maybe could make it more attractive. Moving south, continuing, when this sub area was looked at mainly just as an idea for how, if redevelopment occurred on this major north-south arterial, what are some best practices from a planning standpoint. So just as a case study, it uses a site by Hy-Vee and illustrates how, if somebody is coming in and wanting to do maybe a more dense housing arrangement or mixed-use building, the ideal kind of principles of applying the plan to doing that on this corridor. We'd prefer, if there's an alley, we'd prefer, in certain locations for that parking access to be in the rear. We wouldn't want a bunch of curb cuts on the street that have all these cars going in and out. We'd rather have one main access that everyone accesses. For others that are just commercial buildings, maybe parking out front is necessary because there isn't room in the back. So here's a situation where how that looks with curb cuts and some landscaping and sidewalks too. And maybe there's open space possibilities too as entry gateway features, how that could look if there's excess land that can't be used for anything else. There's not enough room to put a building there. Infrastructure doesn't work or whatever. It could still be a nice space for entryway into the community. And then lastly, took a look at the two mall spaces. We obviously know the figure on the right is the Marshalltown Mall, which we know is being renovated and is having new tenants in there. So this concept was meant more as that property owner, if they continue to want to do improvements to that site, here's some opportunities to better define the parking and the circulation on that parking lot, as well as there's opportunities to add a few more pad sites out there too along the street, if there's small type restaurant type businesses, you think those types of things, there is room for that and still be able to accommodate parking. The Meadow Lane Mall here is also a space that could be looked at a lot of different ways. We heard some from the community about redeveloping that whole site. We heard others that say, well, no, the building, there's parts of the building that are still fine, and we think that it's still viable. So this presents some circulation ideas, improvements for the parking lot, pad site improvements to that site as well. I think on the future land use map, this is identified commercial mixed use. So if the owner of that building would want to redevelop that site, they would fall under that category and be able to do a number of different things if they wanted to. But the overarching principles of the plan would apply as far as zoning and those sorts of things. Okay, last section here, and then we'll wrap up. Facilities and infrastructure is I describe as kind of the least flair of the entire plan, because it's the nuts and bolts of the city. So things that are extremely essential to be a successful city, but that most people don't pay attention to unless it's roads. So it focuses on a lot of things you're already doing. So prioritizing things like street maintenance, stormwater management, being responsible where we build, preparing for growth, all of these things, again, you're already doing in a lot of senses, but getting this here and having it in the plan as your overarching principles for investments on infrastructure and facilities. There are a few more detailed things that relate to the things we talked about in other sections that we heard about from staff or others that we might want to look at. Obviously, partnerships are a huge thing for the success of this plan, but there's things like, for example, the Riverview campground. Does that need to be looked at again, and look at the master plan for that, and some other more specific things. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward as far as doing what you're continuing to doing and maintaining our level of service for residents, and ideally improving that, taking it up a notch as well. So the plan ends with implementation, which actually for you and for the Planning and Zoning Commission and Council, this section is actually quite important. For the normal citizen, probably doesn't mean a lot, but this really sets out the annual action program, the annual evaluation that you should be doing to check portions of the plan to make sure, hey, is this still accurate? Or do we need to make adjustments? Where are we at? It describes how you make changes and amendments to the plan, which is something you do today, but there are steps to do that. It lists then the timing, which some of this is not filled in the draft plan you got, because we wanted to hear feedback from our committees first on maybe higher priority items, but it lists items that are ongoing things you do all the time, short-term priorities, medium-term, and long-term priorities. And then it also lists partners. So can't, there's no way the city can implement this whole plan. There has to be a number of partners involved, and those are listed in the plan, and it will identify kind of this project is going to require this partnership or these people to be involved, and here's the group that should be leading it. So that is detailed in here as well. But those two columns, the timing and the partners, will fill in after this week. So I think we still have time. That was kind of what just really high level, I know it's 185 pages, I think, of material. There is an appendix that will have more detailed information that we gathered throughout. So existing conditions maps, the housing study will be attached there, and just other background material. But for the most part, the draft plan that you received is the draft in front of us right now. We have some minor tweaks that we're going to make based on what we heard from our committee that we met with before, but nothing extremely major. But yeah, open up to any questions or comments. Otherwise, our ask is just take a look at it, review it. We have time. I mentioned we're planning to take the whole month of June for review, so we would appreciate you taking a look. And when we get to July for approval, we would like that to be a celebration that we've addressed everything. Everyone's excited about the plan. It aligns with everything you've seen, and it's more of a rubber stamp at that point. So, but I'll open it up.
Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. One question is, one of the priorities that we have heard from people in our community is that infrastructure, which you have at the very end of the report. Is there a way that can be presented as more of a, we have to have the infrastructure for these others to follow through? I think that many people are concerned that we're putting trails above roads, or we're putting parks above roads. And that, to me, is just something that kind of stood out in it as, how can we make all of those things as priorities, or the roads followed by some of those priorities? Yeah,
no, that's a good comment. In fact, things like trails and parks don't happen if you don't have the roads, because those are often, unless they're off-street trails, they're coupled, they're projects that go together. And then development as well, it follows roads too. So that's a good point, and we'll look at that and see how, if we're not clear in the front end of how that all fits together, and see if we can make some adjustments. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'd just like to say I enjoyed looking at the plan documents, very thoughtful, so thanks to you and everybody else who participated in this. I'm really looking forward to the public feedback on this, but I think it's a good plan.
Anyone else? John, do you have anybody? Any questions? Okay, hearing none, meeting adjourned at 5:18. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your kids? Your kids?
This one? Yeah, my daughter Nora drew that on my cast when I busted so I shattered this finger and busted my leg up. I cast it all the way up to here. So she drew on here, and so this is kind of my nod to my healing and.
Thank you very much for your work on it. Lots of work there. Thank you for your work.
Oh, no, what she wants, she can just get around. That put, no, DoorDash. You know, the goulash,
Hey, Alicia. Is there a way to forward this to the next? Oh. I would say I want to try to get to the other display board. I go up here. Yeah, and then go to display.
why not? I mean, it's got a date on it. You just hope that it.
Yeah, okay, yep, okay. Well. He's getting his insurance. And they've
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Cahill,
Here.
Fonseca,
Here.
Mitchell,
Here.
Nichols,
Here.
Schneider,
Here.
Thompson,
Here.
Yepes Gomez.
Here. Okay, full house. We're now down to public comment. Members of the public may make comments on any item that is not on the agenda at this time. The speaker shall approach the microphone and state their name and address. Comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless a longer comment is authorized by the mayor. The speaker shall direct comments to the mayor and the council as a whole. The mayor and the council may provide a response to a public comment, but shall not engage in a discussion or debate on items raised by members of the public. No action may be taken on items raised in public comments to comply with open meetings laws. And with that, the floor is open. Okay, moving on to mayor, council, and administrator comments. Does anyone have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
There's a lot of good things happening in Marshtown, a lot of bad things. The bad things usually get the press. But recently, let me back up. I know we've had out-of-state investors before. Like there's a company that's based in Colorado that's built some apartments here in town, and I'm sure there's others I don't know about. But recently, investor from Hawaii invested $6 million in purchased an existing apartment complex. I thought that was kind of neat that we're reaching out to clear out to Hawaii. So maybe we can get him to possibly purchase 2 vacant buildings downtown. They're not vacant yet, but there is a possibility that we will have 2 more vacant buildings downtown that maybe I might write to him and see if he wants to look at purchasing those. So we're getting some interest from out of state. That's a good thing. So thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, you may.
see if I can get through this with my voice. I'd like to thank Jim Palmer and all of his work that his company did for the Little League with all the stadium seats that they provided. So it's too bad Jim isn't here tonight, but major kudos go out to him and his team. And that just proves that if people get together to work together, we can get more things accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes.
Your Honor, please. We all know that Ragbri is coming to Marshalltown in July, and as part of the Housing Committee, we're still looking for host families who would host a group of people within their home to show off Marshalltown at its best with our hospitality and with our neighborliness. So you can go to the Marshalltown Ragbri website and sign up to be a host to do as little or as much as you like, as long as we keep people safe. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
All right. Is Joe Whitty here tonight?
Joe is not.
Okay. Joe Whitty has been with the street department for 10 years. Congratulations, Joe. Moving on to consent agenda.
Move to approve, Your Honor.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to reports. Marshalltown Police Annual Report.
Thank you, Chris Jones, Chief of Police for the Marshalltown Police Department. Had an opportunity to provide the council with a hard copy of our 2025 annual report, so everybody should have that available. Tomorrow, after tonight's session, we will have that available on our website, both in English and Spanish. And I'd like to thank our office manager, Anna Vaughn. It's really a project that she works on for a majority of the year, at compiling pictures and information and data to be able to put this report together. And Maria Ramirez from the fire department, who helped us translate everything into Spanish to have those versions available on our website, so they'll be there. Last year, 2025, would have been my first full year as police chief, and I had enjoyed the year. We'd had many discussions up here in the council and many different challenges within the department, and I've enjoyed it very much. So what I'd like to do is just kind of highlight some items from last year that we kind of put together, and obviously one of the biggest things was the retirement of Chief Tupper in January of last year. He spent 13 years with our agency. And been tremendous in developing leadership in our department, and we are looking forward to his career after law enforcement. I saw him last week at a Chiefs conference and had an opportunity. He's still involved in law enforcement through ICAP, and he is doing a great job, and we'll see what happens here with the future election. In the report, really crime over in comparison, usually what I take a look at is 2024 statistics, and then on some levels we go a little bit deeper, but I just want to kind of compare the year before to 2025 just to kind of see where we are. In many ways, crime in Marshalltown stays relatively the same. It's been relatively the same in the 30 years that I've been a police officer. The concerns and issues that we have with drug use and mental health usually are at the top tier of those concerns for our agency, and usually the rooted reason that we have a lot of crime in our community. But we're doing everything that we can to try to combat that, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing from a department standpoint. On page 5 of the annual report, it kind of talks a little bit about support services. Support services in respect to police records and evidence collection. One of the things that you'll see is in the chart that's kind of in the middle of page 5, where you talk about physical evidence. And then at the bottom where you talk about digital evidence, the council was gracious enough to allow us to change our format and body camera system from the Axon cloud system, cloud-based system that we have currently. So some of those statistics might be a little bit different than they have been in the past. So for example, physical evidence in 2024, we had taken in 7,749, where last year we had taken 2,479. And much of what that is we don't have a server currently. We're using a cloud-based system that's all integrated with our body cameras and our tasers and our in-car cameras. And all of that is where we don't actually have to touch that information any longer. You can go directly into the system where it takes time that we used to take time from our crime scene and property manager to actually upload that information to a server and maintain that. It's all categorized and taken care of through the Axon contract that we currently have. Down at the bottom, you'll see digital evidence was significantly higher. So with this Axon program, we can automatically download videos from the public. We can utilize and take pictures on our body cameras, where we can take still pictures out of videos, and we can upload that information where we would actually have to have a digital camera before and upload that information, which saves officers a tremendous amount of time. It's much easier for us to have that all located in one database. We don't have to transfer it into our records management system. It's all available for officers to use. And if we have to look up a case, you can put that case number in and go directly to that information. It lists all the body camera information or in-car camera information and all the pictures and evidence that's collected in that case, all on an online platform. Moving on, Officer Wolf, our school resource officer, had utilized 392 hours of volunteer work. So in the middle of the page, he kind of talks about his work in coordinating Silver Cord hours for the Marshalltown High School, where he works with high school students to work during the summer on his off time, and we find projects for them to do, or he actively finds projects for them to do in the community to kind of help them build that availability of building those volunteer hours, both after school and then when school isn't in session. That could be anything from beautifying a building to de-weeding a garden. It's pretty much up for anybody's imagination on what they can come up with for those students to do that during the summer. So I'm pretty proud of the 392 hours that they put in. All the students work really hard, and we've had them at the police department and utilized them in the summertime, for sure. Moving on, also support services or training report. We kind of listed the number of trainings that we have. Training is one of our major priorities with our department, not necessarily from the standpoint of new officer training, but in-service training, making sure that we are training our instructors locally so we don't have to contract that out, contract those services outside of our agency. So many of the courses that the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy requires, we would have those done in-house. We can cover much more ground with having those instructors, but then they can also be internal department experts that can help me, other department leaders with keeping up with current case law and certain things that relate to high-profile incidents like police chases or use of force incidents. We can utilize them, but it's also a developmental platform for our staff to get out and instruct in front of people, build their public speaking skills and their expertise in law enforcement, and hopefully someday develop those skills to be a supervisor or leader within the department. Moving on, one of the things that I've taken personal in my first year was making sure that we're increasing our visibility in traffic enforcement. So we've utilized state funding through the Government Traffic Safety Bureau, and then also our partnership with the Central Iowa Traffic Safety Task Force, which I had brought to the council early after I had taken over to make and kind of laid out the fact that we need assistance here locally with traffic enforcement. And what this Central Iowa Task Force does is it links us up with area law enforcement agencies that all have the major priority of making the roadways safer, making the community safer. So we are and allow officers to receive overtime through GTSB funding to go to other communities. We've had a couple of service projects here where we brought in officers from other counties and other cities into our community to kind of provide those projects where we can kind of double our forces and provide that education. And what you end up finding is realistically we've had a little bit of increase in the amount of OWIs, but there has been some increase in the amount of traffic citations that we've written. Disappointing, down in the bottom right-hand corner, we talk about the seatbelt survey, which is something that we do once a year. This year, our seatbelt survey has dropped a little bit. We've kind of concentrated on some areas outside of seatbelts, like hands-free law, move-over law, some of the other projects that have the governor's office has kind of promoted. We need to get back to the core portions of what we're doing to make sure that we get out there, and we're going to take a look at this year at having some of those projects. We've worked some pedestrian projects and pretty much everything but seatbelt, and we probably realized this year that we need to go back and make sure that we're still covering that. FLOC is continuing to be a force multiplier for us. I don't think there's an officer on our agency that hasn't used it or benefited from it. We just this last weekend had another hit-and-run pedestrian accident where FLOC had helped us locate a suspect that we can follow up with, and hopefully in the next week or so we can end up making an arrest. What we're finding out through our use of FLOC is, believe it or not, the amount of people that are coming into our community that are committing crime from outside of our community. And it kind of brings a light to that. And this hit and run would be an example. But you end up finding out that, burglaries and other crimes that are coming in here are people that don't necessarily live here that we might not be able to track down any other way without that information. So big support from the county attorney's office for us in making our cases better, more solid, and then also being able to use FLOC to be able to utilize against what necessarily alibis and other things that people try to present to us that have made our jobs a lot harder. So really has been a benefit for us to kind of get off and running in some of these bigger cases. Page 10, we talk about Cade Parmenter. He was our sole officer that had graduated from the academy. He had went to the Ottumwa Academy in Indian Hills and graduated. He's doing a wonderful job for us. And then on page 11, our record specialist, Sarah, is really responsible for keeping track of all the arrests and information that we put together. Just try to keep all of that organized for us. You can kind of see some of the charts that we have. They're really kind of stale from last year's results. I mean, we're just looking at traffic crashes. We can go down to really the only thing that we really had an increase in that bottom left-hand table were traffic crashes without a report, which means they were traffic crashes with a total amount of damage that was under $2,000. So traffic crash, but if we can minimize the amount of injury that's associated with it or amount of property damage that's associated with it, it's very, very helpful. Moving on to the investigations, our investigative division took 151 cases. Last year, it was going to be down a little bit. It was almost 50 cases lower than the year before. We are one detective, or had been one detective short during this last year that we supplemented with some manpower on patrol concerns because we were looking at increasing our staffing. We were looking at filling those positions. One of those positions is going to be filled here shortly, probably within the next month or so, and we'll be full staffed in our detective division because of the amount of caseloads that we're having in some of these complex cases by the end of the year. Page 13, we talk about Impact, and Impact has seen a little bit of decline in services. Some of that just has to do with the people that we had went and targeted originally are no longer issues, or no longer problems, and we're being able to help people. They still are being an effective and very useful team for us in many of the cases at getting officers out on the street much quicker. Page 15 kind of gives a list of different types of calls for service that we have had. Most everything is pretty much generally from the, similar to what it was in 2024. Some significant changes. One of them was the sex offender registry violations. We went from 72 in 2024 to 7, and that's not because we don't necessarily have the violations or offenses. It's because we were able to use a detective to be able to proactively go after those suspects that were violating those restrictions. And we also teamed up with other federal agencies that would come in and actively work and pursue some of those investigations. We will get back into that once we have the additional detective that's available, but it's that type of crime is a proactive, it has to be taken proactively. So detectives will have to go out there, visit with the people, find out where they live, check them for where they've been registered, and that's where the majority of the violations come from. On the right-hand side of the column, we have OWIs, which are operating while intoxicated. Cases went from 87 in 2024 to 116. And then traffic stops last year went from 3,827 to 4,699. So I'm pretty proud of those proactive numbers from our patrol division. Page 17. Thank you, Alicia. Are you running it? Thank you. We'll talk about automated traffic enforcement. Automated traffic enforcement tickets are down 650 tickets this year. We moved to the traffic enforcement just on Lincoln Way. We're seeing pretty steady numbers. It's somewhere in between 300 and 400 on average per month, and that's kind of where we're at, and probably foresee that continuing. I don't see any fluctuation in that throughout the year. So we probably see a similar number, 3,400 or so tickets next year. Page 18 talks a little bit about our drone program. Once again, thank you, the council, for being able to see the benefits of having drones and investing in our drone team. We do have 5 licensed pilots that utilize drones for a variety of different reasons. We've helped other city departments on occasion. We utilize them for people that have taken off running from the police or searching for people that we're looking for. So they've been beneficial. We do provide some security and oversight when we have high risk or high level cases where we have safety concerns to be able to get out there. If somebody takes off running with a weapon or they're suspected of having a weapon, we can utilize a drone to be able to narrow an area down. They've been very beneficial. We did close out the year last year with 2 reserve officers. Those reserve officers put in a tremendous amount of time and volunteer hours for our agency. Cale Poles had retired towards the end of 2025, so currently we have 1 reserve officer, Daniel Foss, who's still working for our agency. Our SWAT call-outs had decreased last year from 13 in 2024 to 8, which is kind of indicative. We've been able to handle some of those cases and calls at the patrol level. Well, we haven't had to call out the entire team or SWAT team to be able to handle that. What we have done with our schedule is we have a 4-tier patrol schedule, and it's really based around our trained supervisors and our SWAT officers. So we have SWAT officers that are stationed on each one of those 4 areas, and if we have a large call for service that it could be a threat or a critical incident, then we automatically have people on scene to be able to handle those situations. And they, with their experience and the training that they've had, they've been able to take care of more cases last year than we have before without actually calling in for overtime. A little bit about our night shift and day shift officers. Like I said, we have a 4-tier system. We have 2 day shifts and 2 night shifts. 1 lieutenant on days and 1 on nights, and they run those operations. They're not identical. They both have different priorities. We talk with our Captain Stevenson and Captain Weekly about what those priorities are, and we have weekly meetings with those lieutenants, making sure that we're staying on task and making sure that we're doing what they do best and trying to make sure that we give time for officers to be proactive on the street. And then page 24 kind of talks a little bit about our canine program. We have 2 canines currently working Atlas and Timber. They're doing a wonderful job, still trained by the United States Police Canine Association and actively out on patrol. So we open up for any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do. May I?
Yes.
Hey, Chief, you guys recently just did that move over. You worked with the other agencies. I was shocked by how many people weren't moving over. Were you shocked by that too?
I am from the standpoint that it is relatively new. I think people should understand that a little bit better. I think people get a little bit confused, especially when you're talking about 2-lane and 4-lane highways, about when they can get over and what they can do. Realistically, we just try to provide that education the best we can in these types of projects rather than writing tickets unless there's other circumstances that are associated with that. But it's just a good opportunity to get out. And we put out a ton of information on Facebook leading up to that. I think I might have gotten on the radio and talked about it a couple different times, what the expectations are. And as we continue to provide that education, we're going, and in this last project, we did it a couple different ways. I think we had a vehicle that was an emergency vehicle that was pulled over, and then we tried to utilize a tow truck. And sometimes I don't think that people understand that it really applies to everything, including a vehicle that's disabled on the side of the road with its flashers on. So there's some education that's associated with it.
So what did most people say? They just didn't know that the law existed? I mean, was it just ignorance of the law, or were they on their handheld phone?
No, well, I don't believe that that's the case. I think people utilize caution when they go by. They watch carefully when they go by. I just don't think that they really understand that they need to slow down under the speed limit as they go by, or they believe that the only option they have to do is get over. If they can't get over, then they just continue to drive. And like I said, you can do one or the other. You can get over in the 1 lane away, or you can slow down below the speed limit. And that's kind of where you just understand sometimes it's just an educational opportunity.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Chief, I have a question on page 21.
Yes?
What does a goat have to do with the police department? What does he try to find?
Well, that was an animal control call. So, Officer Markle, who currently works, he had left our agency, works with the Highway Patrol. He had gotten an animal control call and he chased down a goat. So it was
I chased down a little deer this past weekend up in Wisconsin. Saved his life.
yeah. So it was a good picture, for sure.
I just thought that he got the GOAT award.
Oh, no. No. It was just one of those things where we respond to any call that we get and we try to solve it the best we can.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Your Honor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Right. Chief, for the OWI arrests, for the 114 cases, were those individuals, did they have levels of the alcohol content, or like they looked like it, or how were those cases?
So anybody that's arrested for a WI, and that's kind of where that would fall, would either have an alcohol concentration that would be determined to be above the legal limit, or a combination of drugs and alcohol. So our GTSB, the person that's responsible for our GTSB program is a drug recognition expert. So if officers have concerns about whether the person is actually on illegal drugs or alcohol, they can go in and kind of determine what that is to find out whether or not they're driving under the influence. It's kind of a variety of everything in that 115 or 114, but a majority of them are alcohol related.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, you have a question?
Tim Bradbury, 12 North 10th Avenue. On the school buses, I think we've already hit the record again of nearly 200 tickets for passing the buses, and I thank the police officers for helping us still file tickets for them for doing it. So, and helping follow through. There's some departments around the state, they don't work together with the bus department where we got cameras on the buses and gets them, but we're already hitting near record of 200 already.
Thank you.
Very serious infraction. There's zero tolerance in the state of Iowa. We take that stance. If there's evidence that violation had, those drivers will be cited.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on to motions.
Motion to approve a special Class C retail alcohol license with outdoor service for the Marshalltown Central Business District events on May 27th, June 12th, June 27th, July 17th, and August 7th.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
No.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to resolutions.
Resolution approving an amended contract with Beanstra and Kim, Inc., a Kleinfelder company for building plan review and building inspection services.
Move to approve.
Second.
Clayton.
Good evening, Clayton Ender, Assistant Director, Housing Community Development. This is a proposal to amend our contract with Vinstra and Kim, who is now a Kleinfelder company. Currently, we structure our building plan reviews through this contract that building plans, V&K retains 65% of the fee permit value, and the city retains the remaining 35%. On trade permits, the city is retaining 20%, Vinstra and Kim is retaining 80% of that. So this contract would change us on projects that are valued less than $500,000 to an hourly basis rather than a just like a flat split there. So that's kind of the big change on projects up greater than $500,000. It would still be status quo as it is today on how we calculate permit fees. What this means for us, I did do a little analysis based on permits that were submitted over the past year. On the building permit side of things, this actually looks like it could be a positive for the city, that we would actually retain more revenue than we have to pay to Vinster and Kim currently. On the trade permit side of things, however, if we maintain current level permit fees, it would actually result in a loss of revenue there. And we have a lot more trade permits than building permits, but building permits also tend to be higher valued than trade permits. So it is a little bit of a balance here. But in reviewing this, staff does believe that this contract is viable and feasible if we do a couple things. On trade permits, if we raise the permit fee on all permits to $85. Currently on the residential side of things, we have $85 permit fee for alterations and $62 for appliance replacements. Those would increase to $85, so there's really no change for the alterations, just for the appliance replacement. On the commercial side of things, we're currently have a $50 minimum plus $5 per thousand after the first $1,000 evaluation. We're proposing that could go up to $85, and if we have everything at that $85 minimum, that shows that we should be covering inspections and other expenses incurred by inspections. Another change that we would do, currently on solar, we have it right on our permit that the permit fee includes a base plan review plus 2 inspection trips. We're silent currently on electrical, plumbing, mechanical, on what that's actually included. So this isn't really a policy change, it's more of a clarify on our permits that those permit fees would include a base plan review plus 1 inspection trip. Solar would still be at 2 inspection trips because that typically requires 2 trips. Everything else typically requires only 1 trip. So if a project failed on a trip and they needed a subsequent follow-up, there would be additional expenses on them, on that applicant at that time, as proposed. I do have a rep from, I have Jake Spratt here with Vinster and Kim. He can assist with conversation if needed. I believe that captures the highlights of this, and staff is recommending approval.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question, Your Honor. So how do these fall in line with other similar-sized cities? Is this about the same?
It's pretty comparable. I mean, Jake, your company works in several other communities. You can maybe speak to what they're charging.
This is renowned with our other 35 communities that we do throughout the state. So a prime example is I've been here for 4 years, and now I'm also Newton. And Newton is on the exact same plan as you guys. So comparable, Newton and Marshalltown are pretty close to the same size, but Knoxville, Winterset, Osceola, Granger, Van Meter, those other communities, they might be a little smaller than you guys, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else have anything? Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Here, yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to resolutions, or to public hearing, number 2.
Public hearing and resolution approving plan specifications, form of contract, and costs for the 2026 Street Rehabilitation Project, HMA, project number STR 26002 in the city of Marshalltown.
Okay, I declare this public hearing open at 6:06 p.m. Heather.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. Tonight we're having a public hearing on the project that is currently out for bid. This is for the 2026 Street Rehab Project for HMA Streets. For the streets that are selected in this current project, I have the listing in front of you on the screen. We're going to do a base bid, which is compiled of $2,285,000 for an estimated construction cost. We also have an ad alternate that has an additional 3 areas for another $122,000. This is a list of the streets. I also have a map of it that I'll go through here in just a little bit. So as we talked about previously when we were going under contract with HR Green, city staff went around and selected street segments, and those segments were anywhere between 1 to 8 blocks. And we did that based on evaluating the pavement conditions and then also looking at an attempt to provide some street rehab work in all 4 wards within the community. So we identified something that looked similar to a heat map there on the right. And we wanted to group projects together by the ones that had a higher heat color, or so you're going to be looking at your pinks and reds in that map. And we wanted to target projects that were working on streets that were not only asphalt surface with concrete underneath, but also full depth asphalt. Once we identified some of the priority areas using those things and the conditions of them, we kind of went through a process of elimination. We wanted to look at other construction projects that are underway this year and also in the next 5 years. We would prefer not to go in now and work on a street that's going to need to get dug up here in the next 5 years for a utility project. We also looked at some of the private projects going on and investment in our community. So as you look at projects like the Miller Middle School project, Marshalltown Company, and some of those that are coming up, because we do know there's going to be an increase in construction traffic in those areas, we thought it would be best to work on the asphalt service after that construction traffic had wrapped up. We're also looking at different things like the Center Street Viaduct is currently closed. So while there is definitely some needs there on 6th Street and 12th Street, we don't want to impact traffic any more than necessary. So we did all kinds of things with process of elimination to kind of identify where this project and what streets would make up with this project. Once we had some target areas within all 4 of our wards, we went out and did some select coring. There are streets that we wanted to address and we were hopeful to address. However, once we cored that, we determined that they would not hold up to a mill and overlay, and it was kind of past that point of able to do anything. So again, eliminating some additional streets. But as you can see kind of in the bottom center down there, that is the 4 wards of the community, and we are touching all 4 wards. As we went through this, one of the things we wanted to do is we want to address streets that are in a condition that people noticeably say, hey, they need addressed. This does not mean we're addressing the worst streets in the community. Many of the worst streets in the community is probably a little subjective, but also it may be past the point of being able to do a rehab project. So while we are addressing borderline streets, we want to acknowledge and anticipate that there is a possibility during construction that we will go in there, we will mill the surface off, and we will come into something that cannot be overlaid. And so if we get there, we will address it at that time. We've done some due diligence ahead of time with coring and some of those street selections, looking at historical records of what we have in the area. But it is a very big possibility that that may happen. We are focusing on streets that are kind of on that borderline, maybe even a little bit below that borderline from a technical standpoint of what you should overlay and what you shouldn't. So the chart there at the upper right-hand corner, that's one we've shared before. As far as the cost of doing some rehab and street work, whether that's reconstruction, preservation, maintenance, and those kind of things. And again, we're kind of targeting those streets that are in the low end of the fair category or the upper end of the poor category. Again, streets that have failed curbs or concrete underneath, we have eliminated those. We do have one block of this project that is going to be a full depth mill and a full depth asphalt replacement. However, the curbs are in a condition that we feel like we can go ahead and do that, and that is on South First Ave here between East South Street and East Ferner Street. Again, this project is for about 3.3 miles of an HMA mill and overlay. That mill is going to be variable depending on the street project. We have a street on here that has a granular base and only has 3 inches of asphalt. And so on that project, we're going to be raising the top of the surface. And so the mill depth on that will be 0 at the center line. We'll be kind of wedging in at the existing concrete curb and gutter. And then there are also streets where we're going to be milling 3 inches and putting 3 inches back. So very wide variability as far as how much we're milling and how much asphalt's going back. But all of these projects would include a minimum of 2 inches of asphalt, many of them 2.5 or 3 inches. As far as some accessory pieces of the project, I'll call it, we are not going in to intentionally address curbs. We are looking really focused on the driving surface. However, there are a couple sections in this project where curb repair is necessary to go ahead and do that. So those are 2 of the streets on this project here that we were going to have some curb repair and some select replacement there. Anytime that you do an asphalt mill and overlay project, there is some requirements out there as far as addressing ADA compliance. And those are in particular right at the intersections and the quadrants of those. We are working on pulling together a project that would follow this immediately after this construction that's going to address those curb ramps that are legally required to do so. We have a little bit of a design issue. We potentially have some right of entry permissions from property landowners because that sidewalk is located at the property line, and that's why that will be following in a separate bid. Timeline and schedule. Next Tuesday, the bids are due here at City Hall by 10 a.m. The next council meeting on Monday, June 8th, we will bring those to you for consideration. As far as the project goes during construction, we have 2 days that are restricted, that they cannot build and have any streets closed specific to this project, and that is surrounding RAGBRAI. So there won't be any streets closed associated with this project during that event on that Wednesday and Thursday. And then we are anticipating construction to wrap up by the end of October. One of the things I wanted to share with everybody is an opportunity and a place that people can go to get more information about this project and other street projects that are happening in 2026. So on our website, we have a page that's dedicated to projects that are planning on happening in 2026. And I'm going to switch over and show you guys our website real quick. Okay, so if you go to our homepage and come up here to the community tab and go down to construction, it will bring you to this page. It looks a little bit different because I've played around with the layers, but right now this is an interactive map. You can zoom in, zoom out, see different streets. The streets that are blue in front of you, those are the streets that are part of the base bid for the project that I'm up here at the public hearing. But when you refresh this page, it will take you to the default zoom. And all the projects that are happening in 2026 that are currently known and proceeding, there may be additional ones that get added in the future, but they are listed here based on the different maintenance, preservation, rehab, replacement, reconstruction, and then there's also a description down below as far as the estimated cost, contractor involved, and those types of things, completion dates. So that is also live and available on our website as well for those that are interested. With that, I will open it up for questions.
We received any written?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything from the public? Hearing none, I call this public hearing closed at 8:15. And
Your Honor?
Yes.
Well, particularly, I don't really have I'd like to commend Heather and her team for moving forward on the streets here. This is something that, I'm excited to look forward to as we keep trying to get our arms around the streets in Marshalltown.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the 2026 street rehabilitation project.
So moved.
So moved?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Now, any questions or comments by any counselors?
Your Honor, I do have a comment.
Yes.
I think this is a really good plan, and I am very excited to, whenever I have constituents with concerns about streets, to let them know the website and where they can go to check out each and every single project that's going on, and see what's going on with what category the street will be rehabilitated to. So I'm excited about this.
This past weekend, I went out to, on Summit Street, out past 16th Street, and that's all new going out there, and it's really nice to see. It really is. They did a good job. Okay. We're ready for roll call.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to number 3, please.
A public hearing and resolution approving the status of funding activities for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Tree Planting Project, number PRK 24002.
Okay, I announce the public hearing is open at 6:17 PM. Kristen.
Good evening, Kristen Titus, Parks and Recreation. The following update is the status of funds for the Community Development Block Grant. It's a required step in the execution of the funded CDBG tree planting project. As of May 26, 2026, the following actions have been completed: digging of holes, delivery of trees, planting of 341 trees, and watering. To date, $68,170 has been expended for the project from the Community Development Block Grant and zero from the local funding sources. $132,522 of the total project budget remains. $131,830 in CDBG funds and $692 in donated local funds. The project is substantially complete, but project costs still need to be invoiced by the contractor. The original project scope included planting of 200 trees. The project came in under budget, and the City of Marshtown requested to plant an additional 141 trees. A total of 341 trees were planted in this project scope of work. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Your Honor?
Is there anything from the public? Okay. I'll call the public hearing closed at 6:18 PM and move it to council.
Yeah, I was wondering on the sizes of the trees, like what they are. I mean, they're going to be, when they mature, they're going to be really tall. But right now, like as they're planted, how do they look? Sorry.
So right now, the planting sizes range anywhere between the small size, probably a 1.5-inch diameter, going up to about 2.5-inch diameter. So it kind of varies depending on species, and the heights of those would be in comparison to their trunk sizes.
Okay, sounds good. And I think Kelsey had came up to show us a map of it, I think, at the beginning. Do we have that still to see?
We
how the-
do.
okay.
I don't have it.
No, it's
I
okay.
don't think we have it tonight. No.
Okay. We'll check it out another time, but
Yeah.
that's good to see that. And
Yeah,
see
it's
where they're
also a fairly interactive map as well. You can zoom in, see where each one is located in each of the properties, as well as the public park sites. And then most of them have tree species names, and we're working on getting the 141 that we added, the species names on those. So then you can see the species of each location and in each of their respective locations.
Well, sounds good. Thank you.
Your Honor, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for your report here, and I'm glad that we've increased. Now, 2 questions. One, were these only in the first ward, or are they spread throughout the city?
So they're only in the first ward, because that was the initial grant opportunity that we had signed up for.
And secondly, are they on, only on public property, or are they included in private property as well?
These are only public property, so they'll be on the city right-of-way, and then there are some in Peterson Park and Riverview Park.
I think I helped plant some in Riverview Park a while back. So no, it's a great thing that you guys are doing and utilizing service clubs to help you and different organizations that work with that. So thank you very much, and thank you for your clarifications.
Okay, I would entertain, do you have another question?
No, I'm saying Alicia pulled up the map of it right there.
Yeah, so that shows the areas that they are in. We do have a GIS map that has the actual locations that would be available if you guys wanted to see that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinances.
Temporary ordinance 15120 of the City of Marshalltown, Iowa, enacted to assist city officials and the RAGBRAI Committee to address public health and safety issues created by the Des Moines Register's annual Great Bicycle Ride Across Iowa, RAGBRAI, when it arrives at Marshalltown on July 22nd, 2026, third reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Anything from the public? Anything from the council? Roll call, please.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinance number 2.
Ordinance 15121, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Marshalltown, Iowa by adding a new chapter 111, establishing requirements for the outdoor seating areas on public property, second reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mayor, may I, if staff would ask that council consider waiving the third reading, the city clerk has a pending outdoor service request that she would like to process if possible. So staff is asking for possibly waiving the third reading of the ordinance.
Yes?
Your Honor, I have a question, if I may. Is
Yes.
this appropriate time? Okay. Are we still at the $75 permit for 3 years? Is that what it is clarifying?
Yes. It's 75 for 3 years. Mhm.
Your Honor?
Yes.
So, and this is all, thank you, Carol and team, for working with the owners that are basically implementing this. This is all per the changes that everybody is comfortable with, correct?
Was staff made changes prior to the first reading? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. But that's after discussion with, so, yeah, I think based on feedback I have from some of the affected, I support this.
Okay. Do we make the motion to waive the third reading after?
After we vote on the second.
After we vote on this? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to waive the third reading?
Your
I'll
Honor,
make, I'll make a motion. We move it.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Okay, we're down to discussion, franchise fee discussion. Carol?
Okay, Your Honor. So at the May 11th meeting, there were 3 franchise fee resolutions that did not receive enough support to move forward. So tonight's discussion is different from that discussion in 2 important ways. One is that council got feedback at that meeting that council may want to consider a narrower revenue purpose statement that's focused primarily on exactly what public safety expenses would be funded from a franchise fee, in addition to the property tax relief that was previously discussed. And then second, council, there was some discussion that council would choose to refer the matter directly to voters at the November 2027 regular city election, rather than relying on a petition process that would lead to a special election. So those are the two primary differences. As is spelled out in the memo, police and fire, public safety make up a significant portion of the city's general fund budget. FY27 budgets were approximately $6.6 million for police and $4.2 million for fire. In the memo, we've included a number of specific costs or cost pressures on the public safety budget, including wage increases, overtime, fuel and vehicle costs, animal control, impact, which I would note is not funded through December 31st of 2026 currently, and then some ongoing building costs that could be partially funded with a 3% franchise fee. Just as a reminder, a 3% fee would generate about $1.5 million, which would include roughly $500,000 that would replace local option sales tax revenue. So what we're looking for tonight from council is direction on, do you want to continue to talk about this and pursue this option of a franchise fee? Would you want the, and if so, would you want the purpose statement to be further narrowed and used to fund any of the identified costs that we've included in the memo? And then finally, whether the question would be referred directly to voters.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes, I would support both the moving it to the November 27th election and the narrow and the very precise definition of what public safety costs were to support the move to bring this to the voters. I think that answered a lot of the big questions that I heard.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I also would support the changes in this area because, again, I think that gives us time to educate the public, letting them know exactly what we want to spend the money on and how, and then it going into effect at a later date, not immediately following some of the other increases that we've had.
Okay, good enough. Other comments?
Your Honor, I'd only say, clarifying Sue's comment, that it's not that we want to spend the money on this, we have to. Our general fund revenue is going to be gutted going forward. I think waiting until November of 27 is waiting too long. I think we need to act sooner.
Fair enough.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes, you may.
Carol, any election that occurs, it passes by 60%, when would this take effect administratively? I mean, like, let's just, for clarification, let's just use the November 27. When would we start reaping the benefit of this franchise fee?
There's a process that the utilities have to go through in order for this to be effective. So I think it would probably be probably 3 to 4 months before we actually saw revenue from it. I think their process takes at least 2 months, so it would take a little bit.
So it would, in effect, be after the 27 budget.
Or to prepare fiscal year 28 budget would be after that. But,
Yes.
you know, you could still, I mean, depending on when we started collecting the revenue, there are opportunities to amend budgets. I mean, there are things that we can do to address that.
Anyone else? Do you have a direction here?
I have another question.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, Gary has another question. Address him first, please.
Okay, Gary?
If this doesn't pass tonight, do we have options moving forward, or if we depleted all options of taking it directly to 3 ordinance readings and taking it directly to a ballot issue? If this doesn't pass by putting it on the ballot for the November 2027, is it dead in the water?
I don't know of another option. So I would say yes. I don't know that there would be an option to make this proposal substantially different.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'd like to recommend we move forward with the changes as per the memo. Waiting will just give us a chance. It's not really a waiting, it's a taking steps to ensure that it passes. If we try to push this through and things are open and undefined, I think it will fail, and then we'll be in worse shape than we are right now. So I would move to make the November 27th election, and with the tighter scope of what public safety means.
Do I have a second on that?
I would second that.
Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, you can.
So the one sort of an outlier in the list is Impact, which is not currently funded after December of 2026. So would council like to see that included as one of the things that would be funded with revenue from a franchise fee? Or would that be something that you would separate from this and discuss funding for at a different time?
Your Honor, I would think that impact would be part of public safety, so, right?
Is there anyone
Your
who disagrees?
Your Honor, I support that statement that, based on reports from that the police just provided, that's just helps the police force focus on the real things and takes care of some of these social problems before they become a crisis.
So we,
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Could I, do we not have enough expenses, like worth $1 million in just, I guess, labor costs, like the police department, like just police officers?
Yes, we definitely have enough expenses already. It's a question, given that Impact doesn't have funding going forward,
Sure.
if that's something council would like to see funded, that would reduce the amount of dollars available for current expenses, obviously. But I thought it was a question worth discussing with the council, yeah.
Yeah. I just, I guess it would just be easier for people to digest that, this entire $1 million is just going for police officers and, I guess, fire department. I guess, like, if the concern is that, we have to be more specific with public safety, I think that's easier for people to digest. Just my take.
Carol, so Impact would be effectively not funded?
Chief, do you want to talk a little bit? I'll ask Chief Jones to talk a little bit about what the funding looks like after December of 26 for Impact.
Sure. There's a couple different moving parts associated with the Impact program currently. One of them is the availability for opioid funding for Marshall County. Marshall County has utilized that to fund their advocate or an extra advocate, which that's why we have 3 currently. Looking at applying for those on behalf of the city through YSS to help supplement one of those positions. The county, I'm unclear at where they're going to move forward after December 31st. And then we've been also working with the Iowa courts and Judge Greer about finding a way to maybe supplement some type of state funding or state grant funding on behalf of the court system to be able to fund one of those. So we're hoping to be able to kind of pull things together and maybe find a little bit more of a stable funding source, but right now it's just kind of up in the air until maybe August or September for sure, and then we can seek other funding if we aren't able to get those opioid dollars.
So the $180,000 that's listed in the table, that's for 2 advocates and overhead and any overhead costs?
That's for yes.
Okay.
Yep. All costs associated for 2 advocates is what they're estimating.
Any other questions?
Your Honor?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
At this point, this is Greg Nichols. At this point, I'd support either with Impact or not. If there's concern that Impact will dilute the effect, then I want to see Impact funded. But I know we need this source of revenue, period, for our police, and if that helps us, and we'll figure out a way to fund the rest from our either lost or general budget. So either way, because I know how this works through the funding, but we need to pass this franchise fee. So if there's concerns about impact, you can withdraw it, but I like it in there personally. But I would take it out if people felt that would improve the chances of it passing.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I feel that having impact in there as a funding source enhances the chance of it passing because it has such a positive review from our citizens that I've heard people say, whatever you do, you need to fund that impact program. So by having that in there, I think it strengthens the public service content, knowing that impact is in there. So I think we need to keep that in the budget area.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past city council meetings, did we not say that we needed time to educate the people? So I think if we would go anywhere as close to not reaching the general election in 27, that it'd be a detriment to the chances of it surviving.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, we have a motion and a second to send it to the November 27 election with the public safety revenue purpose statement to include impact.
Yes, go ahead, Greg.
No, if that's a motion, I would make that as a motion.
You already did.
Do we have a second?
We do.
I
Cahill seconded it.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yeah, public comment.
Yes, public.
Lane Perry, 20 East State Street. Before I get into my spiel, I just want to clarify a couple things with this conversation. So the franchise fee would bring in, that was 1.5 million, and it was what, 180,000 to fund impact for 2? Okay. And then with this franchise fee, is that fully locked in to the public safety budget?
Well, we would, are you just talking about the accounting?
I'm just
The
asking
accounting
where the
would-
money could go. Does it have to just go to public
If
safety?
the revenue purpose statement is public safety, it has to go to public safety.
Okay, and can that be amended? The statement?
There is a process for doing that, but it's not easy to do it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pitch that we should. So I've been listening to this discussion tonight, and I really do appreciate the work that's been done on this. I understand that the city needs additional funding, and I definitely support moving forward with the fee. I think that something we all have in common is that we want Marshalltown to be a great place to live because this is where we live. This is our community. And right now, I think people just want to feel confident that when we're asked to pay more, it's going towards things that truly make our day-to-day lives better. That's why this really comes down to trust. And trust isn't built through the big ideas alone. It's built through small, visible results that people can actually see. That's why I think starting with the basics makes a lot of sense. Things like roads and sidewalks. Things we use every single day. When those improve, people notice. And when people notice, confidence starts to come back. I would encourage you to set simple, clear goals, like how many miles of road get repaired, and just keep the community updated along the way. Let people see the progress. Let them feel like they're a part of it. I don't think this has to be a tense or divisive issue. I think this is actually a great opportunity for us to work together and rebuild that shared sense of purpose. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same side here. So if we do move forward with the franchise fee, let's make sure it shows up in ways people can see and feel right away. If we do that, I really believe people will support it. Not just now, but going forward too. And I also want to say, I would totally be supportive of it going towards impact. I love what they're doing. I just think that having this go entirely towards public safety when that is already the major share of the budget might not be best long-term. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Doris Kinnick, 2020 Catalina Place. I remember when the 1 cent sales tax was going through, and I remember going to the library, and Councilman Nichols, who isn't here tonight, but I hear you, did the presentation. And I think that really helps with the education that we were talking about. So I think that's a really important thing. And I think November 27 is also a good target date. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Your Honor, can I clarify one thing?
Yes.
As this money goes towards public safety, that frees up that public safety in our areas of the budget, or it frees up, it just provides us another income source. Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct. The one thing that would be different here is impact, that's not already being funded.
Okay. But the rest of it would free up the budget
That's
that
right.
we might appropriate more toward sidewalks or roads, or we might pick other things that are very visible.
General fund expenses.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
two follow-up questions, if I may.
Yes.
It costs us $180,000 a year, according to your numbers, to fund 2 advocates through YSS. What would it cost us to fund the 2 advocates if we brought them into city employees? I can't believe it's $90,000 apiece.
Chief, we have those numbers, what the administrative costs are.
I'm just talking about the salary of the 2. They could report to Lieutenant Stevenson or Lieutenant Weekly. I mean, we know what they do. We know how they do it. Is YSS offering something that we're obviously paying YSS something to manage this program? Is it worth still paying them this far into the program?
Well, in some ways, we're paying YSS for the freedom to allow them, their advocates, more freedom in helping people. And one of the stumbling blocks that we have by hiring an advocate is our government employees, which restricts some of the interactions they have as it relates to privacy and helping individuals.
That's
this
good.
this system has worked well for us because they can be free to help, free to speak to them. They can take them to appointments and interact with them, build cases, and it's outside of government control.
That makes sense. I just don't want to be overpaying for that freedom. And I don't know what the administrative costs are. Who else is making money off this? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to be tactful, but, but you answered the question. Thank you, Chief.
And in other agencies, they do bring on people through the city. It's just a different program.
And then my other question, Carol, is if this fails, this has to have 60% approval. It's the supermajority, right? So if this fails, when can we as a body bring it either back through 3 ordinance readings or putting it on another ballot?
There's no statutory requirement on that. It's probably just up to council's discretion.
We could do it right away.
You could.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'll vote yes on this motion because I think I've lost the ability to pass this by ordinance on this council right now. But I just want to go on record that we are acting too late if we're waiting for the general election in 27. So we'll see.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Honor, can I just address why we're doing it for public safety directly? Just to answer Elaine's question. So it's just really, the last 3 years we've had shortfalls, 600,000, $1 million, and 1.6 million. There's very limited ways that we can do, or we can collect more revenue. With the state tax or the state changes to our property tax changes, there's going to be more restrictions to it. And so the franchise fee is one way to avoid really devastating cuts in the future. For fiscal year 28, it doesn't seem like we're going to collect that revenue. So one of the points of franchise fee is that public safety. It allows us to allocate it for public safety, and public safety, as you know, makes up a large portion of the general fund. So That's why. I think I would love for it to be more spread out, but it's just something. I guess it's like more of like the lesser of evil, if you want to put it that way, even though it's not really necessarily an evil. But you get what I'm saying, right? So yeah, so yeah, that's just why it has to be public safety.
Roll call, please.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca.
Yes.
And our last item for discussion is Center Street Viaduct railing options.
Hello again. Ben Dulesky, Civil Engineer 2 for the city here. So at last council meeting, board kind of had, or have board, that's my county side coming out of me. Apologize. The council directed engineering staff to answer a few questions they had regarding the proposal from Boulder regarding doing new fencing. So on the warranty for how long the fence would last would be they have a 15-year limited warranty from the fence supplier. And regarding to Boulder's response to what they anticipate for a change order with sandblasting and painting the fence, they don't have a specific idea of what that would be. I believe, talking with Heather on that, city could provide, drain holes and, whatever fencing parts when they went in and sandblasted. We'd go in, they'd paint what would be there, and whatever portions were not suitable, we could go to one of our local manufacturers and try to get some of those either posts or railings kind of fixed up. So on the side of things for if we were to remove it, the painting and blasting from the contract, talking with Boulder, that would be a reduction of $290,000. And then also kind of looked into a little bit of, talked with a fencing manufacturer. They have not given me a price, but they would have their warranty on that would be a 20-year warranty from the date of purchase. I would kind of anticipate if we were to remove it from this contract, that we'd be looking at $400,000 or more to replace the fence with a different style. So I would direct, we continue with what we have per the contract, to sandblast and paint, just so I think that'll be kind of our best option to further down the road. We might have to do some more painting on the beams itself future down the road. So if we wanted to address the fencing at that time as well, we could incorporate that as well. So.
Yes.
Hey, Greg, it's Gary. Will you mute the grandchild, please?
The grandchild's in the middle of the room, so it's too bad. I can't do anything about it. Just be glad they're not screaming. They're happy. Question for Ben. So when you talk about go to a local manufacturer and have these created, is that included in the current contract, or is that a change order?
That would be something we'd do outside of the contract on the city side.
Will that be a change order at additional cost?
No, it would be additional cost, but it wouldn't be through the contract.
Okay, but it's still included in this whole project.
So they would do the sandblasting and the painting, and whatever locations we found where, the structure was compromised or, there was nothing for them to paint, they blasted through, the post or what may, we'd go out and after the fact, get that, fixed. So that would be.
Oh, after the fact, so how the paint, so they'd have to paint then again, or what? Tell me how that would work.
So they would, sandblast all the fencing and then paint it. And whatever fencing that we found that was did not take the sandblasting well, we'd get something manufactured or just have them paint the whole. We'll have them paint the whole fence. And then after the contract is over with, we'd find those different locations that we need to get the fencing improved in that area, and we'd get that done outside of the contract. So that's what I'm proposing.
Your Honor?
Yes.
So for the picture, for the Metalco fencing
Yep.
picture, so that's what it would look like, or? would
That's
oh,
just an option.
That's an option, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
there's different options that they have. That was one that looks was similar to what it was side mounted, and so.
Okay, because this is the tall version on the outside, and then on the inside, like for this version,
Yeah.
it would be that same fence, but just on the inside where the railings are at, so the railings would be gone, or would the railings would stay?
No, so
Like
that,
inside?
I guess I showed that, but it would not be, that would be where the fence is now. So I showed that as an example of what the fence could possibly look like if we were to take it out of the contract and try to find a solution. It would not be on top of the guardrail.
Okay.
So it'd be where the fence would be at now.
Mayor, may I ask, I just want to make sure council's clear on what the question is that we're
Yeah,
asking.
yeah.
Is everybody clear on? Okay, I just wanted to check it.
Okay, good.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Because I think, yeah, I guess you were saying that the fencing would be on the guardrail. We wouldn't be doing that because obviously then we wouldn't have any fencing on the outside anymore, or, for that walkway.
I was just kind of trying to picture it because in the last meeting, we had the railings, right, and they were all rusted up. So
Yep.
I guess I'm confusing are we talking about the railing and the outside part, when you're walking up the viaduct, right?
So the post and the railing.
Oh, we have one fence, okay. We just,
So question.
never mind then.
Yes, go ahead.
So we're talking about replacing that railing Ben, what percentage is rusted out like those photos you showed us?
There's probably 2 or 3 locations like that.
Okay. So, but if we replace it, we're talking about taking those off
Correct.
and putting on the other fencing, right?
It wouldn't be if we were to do that, I would not do the Metalco. We'd be doing fencing that looks similar to the existing to match.
Okay, I'm not understanding. So you're talking about putting in another railing and then have the fence on the outside?
Okay. So I think the confusion is I showed the Metalco fencing. So I showed that because that was suggested as another option to replace, if we were to take this either sandblasting or doing chain link. This was another option that I found. I don't have a price on that, but I just wanted it as a example. So if there were to go in there and, in those spots that, the top of the railing's out, we'd be looking to replace that with the same looking material. And so, does that clarify? Okay, sorry.
Ben, can you
Apologize.
just repeat what exactly it is you're looking for from council as far
Okay.
as a decision?
Just wanting them to, would they want us to go forward with, I'm suggesting we'd go forward with the painting, the sandblasting and painting. I know they had reached out and wanted us to look into what additional cost it would, hoping it would be a price savings to do the chain link. And so I guess I was just trying to get I think last time we had more questions and I didn't present it very well.
Go ahead.
I would like to go with the chain link. I think the people in Marshalltown are tired of hearing about repainting this dang railing. Let's put up chain link and move on for at least 15 years.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes, you may.
Ben, no offense, okay?
Yep.
You're saying in your memo
Yep.
that it's a $109,050 increase if we go with the chain link.
Correct.
Okay. Being a little older.
Yep.
Being through stuff like this before.
Yep.
No offense.
Yep.
If we keep that railing.
Yep.
And we sandblast it. And we fix it and we
Yep.
paint it.
Yep.
It's going to cost us more than $109,000. I think another counselor agrees. There's no, as much as I love history and I love the antique look of that railing, and it's antique, I'm going back to the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm telling you, black chain link, extra high where the UP wants it, 6 foot or 10 foot like it's on the 3rd Avenue Viaduct, whatever that is. Let's just vinyl coated black chain link. And I'm past the point of trying to get this taken away from Boulder. Just, we'll pay them the extra $109,000. We scrap the railing, we make $20 off it at Gervage, or we sell it to people that want souvenirs.
Well, they'll be part of the contract. They'll take it. We won't get any of that.
I'm fine. I agree with Councilman Schneider on this. Black chain link, get it done.
Do we have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm not a professional at this, but I've had experience with sandblasting frames of cars, restoration, and you may get to an area that looks good, but in a couple of years, it's going to be back the same way and rusted through, so it's just money thrown down. I think we should go with a chain link and open it up for local contractors to bid on it. We have 2 or 3 fencing contractors in town that we should put up for bid.
I'm just worried about when you get to sandblasting something like you. I sandblasted for 5 years at Emerson, and it does weaken the material. And by the time we get done, we thought we have 5 or 6, but now we have 57 sections that need replaced, and
Thank you.
I would take a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to move to chain link.
Second
With
that.
Boulder.
Have a motion and a second. Anything from the public?
Linda Clark, 306 South 2nd Avenue, and I've been here a long time. And I was told once by a very wise person, do it right the first time or you're going to replace it over 3 times. Let's do the chain link. Let's get it done. We've had a lot of historic buildings that have went by the wayside to the demolition. But do it right the first time. We can't just be putting Band-Aids on stuff anymore. It's got to be done right, guys.
Anyone else?
Chain link's the way to go. I think anything else is a waste. It's a waste of money and a waste of time, especially the sandblasting. If you're going to sandblast it, oh no, we got this area that now we need to go and repaint it. It's like, no, just do the chain link, get it done with. Thank you. Oh, Doris Kinnick, 2020 Catalina Place.
We're talking
Sorry.
black chain link. correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
I want yellow. Lee Botter, 401 Orchard Drive. I guess I have a question, I've seen chain link at different weights. Is this something that if a car hits it, will it stop the car? So what kind of weight do we have on this chain link would be a question I have.
It's similar to what we have on the other bridges, right? I mean, it would be,
There's a guardrail right there before the fencing.
Okay, I was just in a car accident years ago where almost killed in the car accident and would have liked to have chain link there to stop the car, but.
So will it catch a car?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe, okay, I'm just curious how, is it the type of chain link that would be out at the racetrack?
No, those have cables run through them.
Okay, that's the question.
Roll call, please.
Thompson.
Yes.
Yepes Gomez.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Fonseca.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
And with that, that's the end of our evening. Meeting adjourned at 7:02.